Good evening. My name is Whitney Eaton, and I'll be discussing the importance of a comprehensive sexual education program in all public schools. My audience is Sharon and Mike Sharp. Thank you guys for coming and listening to my speech. I appreciate it, and we will go ahead and get started. If there are any questions, please reserve them for the end, and I will answer them as soon as I can. When an individual becomes a parent, we understand that it's our job to protect our children. When we think education, we think reading, writing, and arithmetic. But what we don't think about is the very often embarrassing subject of sexual education. And there's varied opinions on how young is too young to broach that subject, and how much information is too much information. It is more important to have a comprehensive program in schools versus an abstinence-only program. Comprehensive sexual education teaches that abstinence is the most effective, however, it is not obviously the only option, and that in the absence of abstinence, it teaches how to prevent sexually transmitted infections, or STIs, and sexually transmitted diseases, or STDs, and how to avoid unintended pregnancy. These programs also teach about the use of condoms and contraception to reduce the risk of STI and STD contraction, including HIV and AIDS. That becomes important when you realize the amount of youth who contract HIV and AIDS. In 2017, there were 8,090 new HIV diagnoses among youth aged 13 to 24. That is 1 in 5 of all new HIV diagnoses. And in this infographic that I have here, you'll see it broken down based on race. And 87% of those diagnoses were male and 13 female. And 93% of the male diagnoses were male-to-male sexual contact. So this is the infographic that I will share with my audience. It also teaches these programs, according to Alford 2009, also teach the importance of interpersonal communication and setting boundaries. They help adolescents to understand their own principles, goals, and decisions, and how to make educated decisions if they do choose to participate in sexual activity. Whereas abstinence-only programs, also known as sexual risk avoidance programs or abstinence-centered education, the premise is all the same. Basically, teach that abstinence is the only option, and they give students or young adults no background or no education to go off of. So why is comprehensive sexual education better? Well, if you think of it in regards to healthcare, when we are explaining a procedure to a patient, or we're going to have a patient sign a consent form, we give them all the options, good, bad, or indifferent. It's called informed consent. Well, it's the same concept with comprehensive sexual education. We should be giving our students or our children all of the information, good, bad, or indifferent. We should be teaching them all of the good, the bad, and the indifferent when it comes to sexual activity. We need to be teaching them how to protect themselves. So we need to be teaching them how to prevent STDs and STIs and unintended pregnancies, and how to use the tools that are given to them. And another reason comprehensive sexual education is a better option for teaching adolescents about sex is that although abstinence is 100% effective, it's only 100% effective if used 100% of the time. According to Alford in 2009, research has actually shown that adolescents that receive education about methods of contraception in the same year that they become sexually active are 70% more likely to use contraception, including condoms, and twice as likely to use oral contraception compared to adolescents that received no education on the subject. So the reality of the situation is that not providing adolescents with ways to protect against infection and unintended pregnancy is a public health risk. According to the CDC in 2016, nearly 10,000 young people were diagnosed with HIV in the United States in 2013. That's a huge number and a scary number, that these children are making life-altering decisions and they don't even realize the weight of their decisions. Teen pregnancy is a topic that's become so prevalent that they've created several multi-million-dollar TV shows and franchises on the topic. In 2014, 249,078 babies were born to females between the ages of 15 to 19, and 1 out of every 6 births were to females who already had at least one child. The amount of evidence supporting comprehensive sexual education in schools is growing so rapidly that many leading healthcare professional organizations are getting behind these types of sexual education programs, including the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the American Public Health Association. By giving adolescents accurate health information regarding sexual activity, they're really only being given reasons to wait based on the alarming statistics regarding teen sexually transmitted infection rates and unintended pregnancies. As mentioned previously, the reason that many parents feel as though sexual education in school is unnecessary sometimes is unknown, but a lot of times it can be due to religious beliefs that emphasize abstinence as the only morally correct option, which in those cases there is an opt-out. There is an opt-out option. And with information available from so many sources, if a child does not get the information at home or in school, they will find a way to get answers to their questions, and sometimes those answers are not correct. If the parent is embarrassed to give that information or is afraid of the questions the child is going to ask, this type of program can answer those questions for them. Unfortunately, we may never know why some parents don't want to allow their children to be involved in comprehensive sexual education programs in school. But all in all, comprehensive sexual education is one more way that parents can protect their children when they're given all the information available versus only bits and pieces deemed more important by somebody else. They can make the best educated decisions, thus reducing the number of sexually transmitted infections, sexually transmitted diseases, and unintended pregnancies. No matter what the opponents of sexual education say, there is nothing that supports claims that these programs increase the incidence of sexual activity in adolescents, nor is there any information supporting that abstinence-only programs delay the decision to engage in sexual activity, ultimately proving that comprehensive sexual education is more effective than abstinence-only programs and should be a requirement for all public school systems. Thank you very much.